for Year 11, a lot of people have requested me to do a video on the Arab-Israeli conflict, and specifically the 16 markers, which a lot of students initially find difficult to do. So I'm going to be using two things to hopefully make them understand this. Number one, the timelines in front of the book, and number two, the questions that I have put out and sent you. This video is going to go onto Mr. Austin's channel, so you can view it along with all of the other stuff. If you want me to do some more videos, I'll be doing them over the next few days. So, the way to do it is to break the topic down into its component parts. You can see here, you've got 1917 to 48. This is called the mandate. So when you look at the questions on here, you can see the different questions. You can see that those first questions ask you about things that happened during the mandate. You get given the questions about British responsibility, for example, and you get given some bullet points. So here what you would do is perhaps take another area, such as the British agreements like the Sykes-Picot Agreement and the Balfour Declaration, and talk about Britain and other factors. So obviously the Jewish insurgency is caused by British policies in terms of immigration, cutting immigration after 1933, but it's also caused by the Holocaust and Hitler getting into power, which isn't a British problem. The Peel Commission is obviously caused partly by Britain coming up with the actual Peel Commission and the partition plan, but it's also caused by maybe the Arab people not accepting the Peel Commission. So when you go through from 17 to 48 and look at the 16 markers, you can see the questions might be about immigration, they might be about Britain. Once you've worked through that, then you can think, well, what's a more natural part of the course? How am I going to think about questions? The questions are likely to be from 49 to 73, or other bits in there. They could be about the Arab-Israeli War of 1948-49. They could be about the Suez Crisis. They could be about the Six-Day War or the Yom Kippur War. When you're doing that then, you come and look at the questions and you think, well, the questions in that part are to do with the changing relationship between Israel and its Arab neighbours. This is the one that you did, or a very similar one you did about this. You did one about the Soviet Union. That one's about the USA. That's the one you did, sorry, about the Soviet Union. So going back to the timeline, you could think, well, what are the main things that are going on here? One of them might be Arab nationalism, such as what happened in the Suez Crisis with Nasser. What happened in 1973 in the Yom Kippur War, when obviously the Egyptians wanted to get the Sinai back and they wanted to get the canal back. Other things that you might think in this period, in questions, are the changing nature of terrorism. If you think about it, most of the terrorism up until 1967 was an attacking Israel from the West Bank or the Gaza Strip with the Fedha Hayim. Later on, you get things like the PFLP destroying planes at Dawson's Field, or you get the Munich crisis in the Olympic Games of '72. So you can think about how terrorism changed in those areas. Or you can get questions about superpower relations and America or the Soviet Union. So once you've done that bit and you've worked through all of these, then it's time to look at some of the areas for peace. And you can think, well, if I take 73 to 2008 and the Gaza War, although there are some points you can see on here where there definitely isn't peace, such as the invasion of Lebanon and the Gaza War in 2008, quite a lot of it is about the negotiations going on for peace. So that might be the Camp David Accords of 1978, the Oslo Peace Accords of 1993, and the Roadmap to Peace in 2003. And again, the way to think about these things is change over time. What's changing is Israel's ability to make peace with the PLO and vice versa. And that might come about because of the end of the Cold War in 1990, 1991, and the Americans' ability to squeeze the Israelis into the peace process. It might be the fact that Israel are feeling that in the intifadas that they can't control the West Bank and the Gaza Strip in the first intifada of 1987 and the second intifada. And therefore they need to make peace with the PLO rather than the emerging groups such as like Jihad or Hamas. So in this section, you want to be thinking about some of these type of questions that come later on, like how far is the USA responsible for peace? So here you might talk about the USA and Camp David and the role of Jimmy Carter, and then you might talk about other factors like the fact that there was an oil situation with OPEC and the fact that the oil prices had gone up, the fact that Israel had a new prime minister who was more willing to make peace. That perhaps, of course, Israel realised they can't keep fighting from the 1973 Yom Kippur War. So within each one of these paragraphs, you're talking about the main criteria which is in the question, and then other things that are changing it as well. And you do that with these two, and then obviously on this one, you would put the Oslo Accords in there as well. So, hopefully, if you have this out, and you have this out, you are hopefully beginning to be able to answer the 16-mark questions, which are about two things. Number one, what's changed and why it's changed, and then what are the other factors that might have caused it to be changed within the bullet points that you are given, and then coming up with a third one yourself. Thank you very much.